Million units annually, Ukraine emerges as a global leader in drone production. 77,000 Russian targets hit in October. Weapon aid is being provided to Ukraine, and more countries are moving away from Russian oil while refineries are burning. Donald Trump envisions a U.S. victory day to rival Russia's. But who are the real Russian soldiers? Ukraine is becoming a global hub for combat drone production, Bloomberg reports. Ukrainian enterprises are currently producing about 4 million drones per year. This result has been made possible thanks to flexibility, speed, and constant innovation. For comparison, in the United States, this figure is around 100,000 aircraft annually. The growth in production is driven by the need to respond quickly to Russian aggression and by demand from NATO countries. Ukrainian companies are not only supplying the front lines, but are also preparing to enter international markets. Ukrainian drone manufacturers have already opened facilities in Slovakia and are preparing new ones, particularly in Denmark. The German company Helsing continues to improve its counterpart to Russia's Lancet, the HX-2. According to Defense Express, these drones are already being delivered to Ukraine in significant numbers. Analysts have reported that Ukraine has placed 2 orders for a total of 10,000 HX-2 drones. The company plans to ramp up production to 2,500 units of HX-2 per month. The drones have likely performed well in Ukraine, as during recent tests in Germany, out of similar drones from 3 manufacturers, only the HX-2 from Helsing successfully hit its target. Denmark has announced a new, the 28th package of military aid to Ukraine, worth more than $210 million. The new package includes additional funds for the implementation of the Danish model of weapons production in Ukraine. About $57 million will go to the Pearl Initiative, the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine. More than $12 million will be allocated for fuel purchased through the NATO Support and Procurement Agency. Sweden is receiving valuable feedback from Ukraine on its weapons tested in real combat. Defense Minister Paul Johnson told LRT that this has highlighted the need to adjust Sweden's defense strategies. He also stressed that Russia's slow progress in eastern Ukraine at a huge cost and with a collapsing economy doesn't mean Putin is winning the war. Around 77,000 Russian targets were struck by the Ukrainian armed forces' aerial drone systems in October alone, reported Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrskyi. According to him, this is the result of expanding drone units, and the number of enemy targets destroyed continues to grow. The best combat performance was demonstrated by FPV drones and heavy bombers. Syrskyi added that, according to intelligence data, the Russian army is adopting Ukrainian tactics and investing significant resources in this effort. Therefore, the defense forces must continuously improve to maintain their technological advantage. Ukrainian defense forces have struck the Orsk-Nefteorg-Syntez oil refinery in the Orenburg region of Russia, according to a report from the Ukrainian General Staff. The domestic production drones Lyuty, meaning both February and Fury, were used. The military emphasized that the strike was part of efforts to reduce the enemy's offensive capabilities, as well as complicate the supply of fuel and ammunition to Russian troops. It is known that the refinery produces more than 30 types of petroleum products, including gasoline, diesel, aviation kerosene, and oils. The refinery has a production capacity of over 6 million tons of oil per year. Following the attack, several explosions occurred and a fire broke out at the facility. One of the primary oil processing units was also damaged. Ukraine's 14th Regiment carried out a successful drone strike on the Morskoy Neftyanoy terminal, marine oil terminal, in occupied Feodosia, Crimea. According to reports, FP2, Firepoint, drones hit 2 large fuel storage tanks, triggering powerful explosions and fires at the facility. The terminal is considered one of the key logistical hubs for supplying fuel and lubricants by sea to the Crimean Peninsula and the temporarily occupied territories of southern Ukraine. The terminal plays a crucial role in supporting Russian military operations in the region, serving as a transit point for fuel deliveries to frontline units. Preliminary data indicate that the strike caused serious damage to the infrastructure of the terminal, disrupting its operation. In the Russian city of Ulyanovsk and several nearby towns, mobile internet has been shut down until the end of the war against Ukraine. Novaya Gazeta Europe reported, citing Oleg Yagvarov, the region's Minister of Digital Development. The restrictions also affect some residential areas, social institutions, and office buildings.
Last week, before the start of the extended shutdown, the Federal Center decided to expand the security zones around such facilities, and these are permanent restrictions, not temporary measures for the period of an attack. It is important to understand that regional authorities cannot influence or cancel this decision, as it is related to matters of state security. Oleg Yagfarov, Minister of Digital Development of the Ulyanovsk region, Russia.
After the U.S. imposed new sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil, the global energy landscape is changing rapidly. The effects are being felt not only in Russia, but also in Asia, the Middle East, and even Europe. According to Reuters and Bloomberg, tens of millions of barrels of Russian oil are stuck at sea, turning into floating storage. By early November, the volume of unsold oil reached 380 million barrels, the highest level since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. India, once the largest buyer of Urals oil, has effectively stopped its purchases. 5 of its refineries have completely canceled their contracts. Major Chinese companies, Sinopec and PetroChina, have also suspended imports, fearing secondary sanctions. Brazil is reducing its dependence on Russian diesel fuel. According to official data, since the beginning of 2023, the country has paid over $13.5 billion USD to Russia for diesel. However, Russia's share in Brazil's diesel imports has now dropped significantly. While it accounted for 60% in the first half of the year, by October it had fallen to just 17%. Experts attribute this decline to the rising costs of the shadow fleet, due to sanctions, as well as a diesel shortage in Russia itself, caused by refinery shutdowns. Indian oil refineries have already begun negotiations with companies from Saudi Arabia and the UAE for raw material supplies to replace Russian oil, which has been hit by U.S. sanctions, says Bloomberg. The talks took place last week. Middle Eastern producers confirmed their readiness to guarantee deliveries. After the sanctions were imposed on Rosneft and Lukoil, the 5 largest refineries in India completely stopped purchasing oil from Russia. Currently, only 2 companies are still buying Russian oil, and one of them deals exclusively with Russian supplies. Chinese oil refinery Yanchang Petroleum has excluded Russian oil from its latest tender for crude supplies from December to mid-February, according to Reuters. Located in Shaanxi province, the refinery previously purchased regular shipments of ESPO and Sokol crude oils, but has now halted imports from Russia due to concerns over secondary sanctions from the U.S. and the West. The refinery has a capacity of 348,000 barrels per day and an annual import quota of about 26 million barrels. Previously, oil was delivered via Tianjin port by rail, but the company is now exploring alternative supply sources. Meanwhile, the United States has urged Turkey to halt its purchases of Russian energy. According to a press release from the U.S. State Department following a meeting between Senator Marco Rubio and Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, Washington emphasized its support for President Trump's call for all NATO allies to stop importing Russian oil and gas in order to help end the war in Ukraine. Turkey ranks 3rd among the largest buyers of Russian oil, after China and India, importing around 300,000 barrels per day. In addition, the country receives about 22 billion cubic meters of gas annually through the Blue Stream and Turkish Stream pipelines, making it Gazprom's 2nd largest customer after China.
And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II. And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those 2. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK, I watched Russia. They were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day.
Maybe it is Donald Trump's plan to throw a parade in the U.S., to invite Putin, to make him walk the red carpet just as he did in Alaska, and carpe diem, seizing the opportunity while celebrating the end of the war together with Russia to end another war in Ukraine that Russia has started. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, Ukrainian armed forces keep on proving that military parades and actual combat are 2 very, very different things.
If someone happens to see this video, I really hope, well, honestly, I I don't really know what to do or how to react right now. The radio died. No connection. Nothing while it lasted. No food, no water. Absolutely nothing at all. Fifth command. We have been left here with no supplies, no support, and no hope. So many corpses along the way. My legs up, either a drop or a BB shell. I don't know. It's probably been a week already. I'm so damn hungry. There are a lot of corpses, a whole lot. The leaves have fallen, there's nowhere to hide. I don't know where to go. No village. I don't see anything anywhere around me. There are no signs of life, no people, no buildings, nothing at all in sight. No berries, nothing at all to gather or eat. The area is completely empty and silent. Where do I run? How do I hide? I feel lost and exposed. I hope I survive, damn it.
Burevestnik, Oreshnik, Poseidon, all nuclear capable, all super powerful, and all can reach any target anywhere on the planet. There is nowhere to hide from these, literally. There is no space left on that paper in that report that Putin reads. All reports are victorious. In the sea, on the land, in the air. Russian army is a swimming, walking, and flying tiger in any environment. Just same as those reports, a bit paper one. And when it comes to AI and robotic systems, no one can beat Russia but Russia. The New Technology Coalition created an AI robot named Idol that can operate completely offline and can even express emotions. Well, it surely can evoke emotions, that I must admit. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has once again stated that the Russia-US summit in Budapest remains on the agenda, and it will take place, but later. What is delayed will still happen, just not when we want, but a little later, Orban said. He noted that 22% of the Donetsk region is not under Russian occupation, and Russia, after introducing the annexation of 4 regions of Ukraine into its constitution, does not want to make peace until it completely seizes them. Orban also stated that he saw the documents of the agreement concluded in Istanbul in April 2022 and claims that it was close to success, but in the end, the Anglo-Saxons disrupted it. I wonder why is that when Viktor Orban recently met the Anglo-Saxonian president of the United States asking for a financial shield, his choice of words was way more polite. That's all for today's News Digest. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more verified updates from Ukraine.